Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this is our time for uplifting, if you will, here at Trinity Lutheran Church as you're going through your period of Lent. And I want to encourage you as we continue on through this period to stay strong, stay uplifted, know that God is hearing your prayers, know that God is responding to your call. And so I want to speak particularly this week, as we have covered over the last couple of weeks during this time, just a 5-minute kind of me and you making a connection that would allow for us to be in unity in what we're trying to achieve. And that is a closer walk with God while we're going through this period. I think we will realize that during this time, we will be able to draw nearer to Him. And in doing so, be able to see the benefits of staying close to God in our lives. Of course, we have looked at a number of ways to make that happen. We have looked in our first talk that we've had, I talked about our giving and our almsgiving and how that helps. And second week, we talked about prayer and how that helps. And now, today, I want to talk about the subject of fasting. Fasting and the understanding how that helps us through this time of Lent. See, fasting is a way in which we get rid of some things in our lives that interfere with our connection with God. And sometimes they're the things of necessity, such as eating. Sometimes they're just simple things that we've just used our time for that otherwise can be used more beneficially by connecting with God during this time. Fasting is something that will help because it's been used throughout the Bible, and as we see, many times, the children of Israel used fasting to allow for God to hear their calls. And so God does. He does so while we're struggling through the difficulties we have in this life. It's a way to get rid of so many things that are interfering with God hearing what our prayers might be. So I encourage you to keep on with your fast. As you're fasting, understand what it does for you and helps you through the calamities of life. We find that fasting was something that Esther fasted when she was facing danger. The children of Israel used it for protection. It was used in the time of the confederations of the Israelites against the Canaanites and the Syrians. We recognize that fasting is a powerful way for God to hear our call. So stay strong in it. Secondly, we realize that fasting renews our connection with God. It helps us reconnect. It kind of resets us, if you will. Allows us to get rid of so many things that interfere with God hearing our prayers and connecting with God, that it helps us in ways that otherwise can be difficult. When we fast, we get the hunger back for God's presence. We want God in our lives because if God is in your life, then who can be against you? And so we always want to seek God and seek how it is that God is steering us through this life. And fasting helps us get through the calamities and the difficulties and the challenges and to hear God plainly. Certainly we want to do that. It also empowers us to fulfill God's calling in our lives. How do we fulfill what God has called for us to do? How do we even know? Oftentimes we fast, sometimes in a crisis. But that's not the only purpose for fasting. Fasting sometimes is merely just so that we could hear what God wants us to do. Hear more plainly what God has called us to do. You were created for something specific that has to do with God in this world. With the world seeing God through you. And so I encourage you to, during this time of fasting, and you may use it in different ways, but certainly take some time out for what you do, a routine event. It could be eating something, it could be watching a particular show on TV or something like that, where you replace that with focusing on the presence of God in your life. Fasting will help you, empower you to fulfill the calamities, fulfill the calling of God's call in your life. It's a way of defeating the devil. There's a story in the Bible in which the disciples had come to Jesus and They expressed to Jesus that they couldn't remove this demon from one of those whom they tried. And Jesus says to them, well, this particular type of demon requires much fasting and prayer. Fasting helps break the strongholds of those that are holding us down and the things that are holding us down in this demonic world. And so we call on you to fast. Your fasting will not be done in vain. You'll be able to hear God clearer, hear God plainer, hear what he wants you to do, if that's your quest. But be true to your fasting in such a way to where in that time that you would otherwise be doing something else, that you're focusing on God's call in your life. Give God a chance to speak to you. It's his opportunity to come clearly and plainly to you as you come to him with open hearts and open minds. It is my pleasure to help you through these times and to let you know that these things work. God's way is the right way. And through fasting, we're able to see him clearer, understand him better, and be able to fulfill the promise that God has for you and I in our lives in a much more efficient way. So I pray for you during this time. I am thinking about you during this time. And I hope indeed that you will benefit from this in ways that you had not seen before. So happy Lenten period. God bless you and God keep you.